back to electric gear. And like before, I told you we'd find...
My name is Charlie Bahama, and most of my career has been about promoting, highlighting, and championing Bahamian music, culture, art, and the entertainers and artists that create it. One such musician, a Bahamian icon really, was there from the beginning of the golden age of Bahamian entertainment and a presence in my life since I was a child.
My name is Peanuts Taylor. I'm from Nassau, Bahamas.
You will always feel grateful if you allow yourself to be humble.
He was so small, they call him a peanut.
He's a force of nature.
He was one of the greatest Bahamian entertainers.
He was a playboy, so to speak.
The speed of his hand on those drums, this is a phenomenal mind that we're dealing with.
We should have him as they have Mickey Mouse in Disney World.
What Peanuts Taylor did with the drums, oh man.
Backing up Peanuts Taylor, I was being entertained just being there in the band.
What I saw Peanuts do at the Drumbeat Club is nothing like I'd ever seen before.
Standing ovations almost every night.
He really could stand alongside any of the great percussionists in the region.
He wanted the best performers in his show.
He didn't just want to work at a club or a hotel, he wanted to own his own nightclub.
How he put on a show, the standard that he set, all of that we can learn from.
In him is a world of cultural history, which most Bahamians should be a part of.
He is a patriot and he is a Bahamian to the core.
You can make the money, but I can tell you, I had millions and everything, and money will go. But friends and recognition, if you're smart and you're humble with it, will last until they put you under, because we're all going to go under, that's for sure.
This story begins right here, back in June of 1935. Over the hill, the Grove.
My mother had diabetes, and so she gave me to my grandmother from the time I was 4 months old. So I grew up with her. And I didn't really have that much contact with my mother. My father went to America after my mother died. Married an American woman and stayed over there for a while.
That was where John Berkeley Taylor was born. But Peanuts Taylor, the entertainer, was discovered by Paul Mears at the tender age of 4.
The Chez Paul Mears, which was on Market Street, owned by Paul Mears, which is an iconic Bahamian dancer. He danced all over Europe with people like Josephine Baker, etc. Well, he came back to the Bahamas and he opened this incredible show using the French dancers and the feathers and the whole nine, with very sophisticated native type show.
One day, someone left the gate open. So I say, here's my chance. And I hear the music rehearsing, and I went and there was Paul Mears rehearsing. And so I waited and watched him, and then I went up to him and I said to him, I think I can dance better than you can. And he said, a little peanut like you is telling me you can dance better than I can? I said, oh yes, oh yes. He says, well, I tell you what. What I can do, and he put me on the show. Later I decided to sing, and I started to sing and dance.
Paul Mears' place was the home of culture. So in the beginning, that's where I learned to dance and beat the drums. Peanut Taylor used to be a little singer, and he was so small they call him a peanut.
He was a dancer first. He used to dance with the woman called Big Bina. She was living on the Lancy Street. She was about 400 and some pounds.
So they put Peanuts, the Wonder Boy, and Big Bina, who was 450 pounds of joy, together. And we did the show. It must have been funny. My arrangement was that I could sing and dance, but I had to get a good education. If it failed, no more dancing.
It was during this time with Paul Mears where Peanuts got his first brush with fame.
Paul Mears, who was internationally known, was offered a what you call a command performance for the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. And of course he took me with him, you know. And the Duchess sat me on her lap and fed me ice cream and cake, and I say, gee, this is the best thing I've ever had.
Word started to spread about this pint-sized dynamo.
George Simonette, who was the famous calypsonian, wanted me to come and work at a place called the Spider Web. And I went there to dance, and then his drummer got sick. And so he said to me, why don't you play the drums for me? And say, you dance, when you finish dancing, come and play the drums for me. I said, but I can't play the drums. He said, every Bahamian can play a drum.
There's a rhythm that comes from the heart of the Bahamas. And you hear that through our Junkanoo drums. You hear that through any young kid you give a bucket to play a beat on. There's a rhythm that comes from the Bahamas.
Locally, Peanuts had already established himself on the Bahamian music scene, but new opportunities were about to present themselves internationally.
Paul Mears Jr. got an offer to go to Bermuda to play at the Castle Harbor Hotel in Bermuda. And he said, well, would you like to go with me to Bermuda? I said, that sounds exciting. So I went there and worked with Paul Mears for a year in Bermuda. And then we were discovered by Hermes Pan, who was the producer, dancing choreographer for MGM Studios. And he said, well, you know, I want to do a film of you guys. So then that's how I became famous. When I did the movie, I did the movie here in Nassau called Island Woman. And I sang the theme song, Calypso Island. So I had tremendous exposure. I mean, you know, not many people can say that they sang the theme song for a movie.
When Peanuts went to Hollywood to work on the music for the film Island Woman, he is introduced to a new style of drums.
When I went to California, I didn't play Congo drums. I went there with the native drum. And the guy who, the CEO say, you know, I hate to tell you, but I don't think we could make it with you building this fire out here every night, heating this drum up.
After California, his star just continued to rise.
When I went to New York the first time, I did the Island Francis show. Then I did the Dave Galloway show. And then I did the Steve Allen show, which was the evening show, and then Ed Sullivan. Steve Allen had done me before. So when he got the I've Got a Secret show, he sent someone down here and they say, you know, Steve Allen wants you to come and do his show.
Here's Peanuts Taylor.
He plays a couple of melodies, a couple of tunes on the drums. Like Mary Had a Little Lamb, Jingle Bell, and that type of thing he played on the drums.
I never knew that a Bahamian went to these American shows that I used to watch on TV when I was a kid.
He exposed that music to a lot of people around the world. And I think they all love it.
Peanuts was now being recognized as an equal with entertainers around the world.
Nat King Cole, I loved him. He was really just fantastic. And then I played drums for him too, you see. He treated me like his own son. I met Liberace through him. I met all the big stars through Nat King Cole.
Another Bahamian entertainer, and arguably the most famous Bahamian in the world, Sidney Poitier, became close to Peanuts.
Sidney's mother lived right around the corner opposite Our Lady's Church. And he used to come over there to see his mother. So he bought Sammy Davis, Bill Cosby, all his friends, you know.
The birth of Bahamian entertainment and tourism was just beginning, and Sir Stafford Sands, recognizing this, used Bahamian entertainers to draw visitors to our shores.
Stafford Sands asked me in 1952 to go abroad and promote tours for the Bahamas, because back in those days, we only operated the tourist season, which was from Christmas to Easter, 3 months a year. And that wasn't anything that could sustain our culture.
Stafford Sands did a lot of taking the entertainers in those days away to promote the country.
Sir Stafford Sands, he came in and decided that the way to get the people to come to the Bahamas was send the entertainment to where they were. They would go on tours lasting sometimes 2-3 weeks worldwide. Once the people saw that, they said, well, now this is just a bird's eye view. If you want to see the real thing, you got to come to the Bahamas. And that is really what started the industry of the tourism industry, and people coming to the Bahamas to enjoy what they saw on those little, little sneak previews.
The government select us to be ambassador of music. Me and Penny, we travel all over the world representing Nassau and the Bahamas. And like I say, I love to travel and I love to represent my country.
They asked us if we would do a performance that was going to be televised for all over Europe. And we did a very short show, maybe 15 minutes, but we stole the show.
Peanuts Taylor was cited in the House of Assembly by Sir Stafford Sands, that he lauded that Peanuts was one of the first Bahamians to promote the Bahamas in such a way that he felt that he needed to commend him in the House of Assembly, because Peanuts never accepted one dime to go abroad to promote the Bahamas.
The hotel was only 3 months a year. The government sent us around the world representing the country. Now, the hotel open every day. They don't send me no place no more now. I done do my part, I guess.
So after traveling the world, spreading Bahamian culture, Peanuts wanted to come back home, to open up his own club, to receive the many visitors he helped entice back to our shores. But what would he call it?
It had to be rhythmic. It had to be something that's related to rhythm.
In 1964, he decided to build the club on Market Street, which is his first Drumbeat.
All the tours that came to the Bahamas from Canada had a coupon on it where you could come to the Drumbeat and get free admission, and there was a 2-drink minimum. And so they put that coupon in there, and when the tourists travel on the ticket and the thing, that was in there. So that's how I beat. Before the people got here, they knew about the Drumbeat, you see?
Peanuts was always, I would say, way ahead of his time, in that, like I said, he didn't just want to work at a club or a hotel, he wanted to own his own nightclub.
I had all the tour companies, I had all the taxi drivers, I had all the cruise ships. On Saturday, Wednesday, and Tuesday night, I would book out for 2, 3 shows a night.
We were all friends with each other, you know. Singers against singers at nighttime, drums against drums.
The cruise ships would bring the passengers in. The Cat and Fiddle would have a full house, you're talking maybe 1,000, 1,500 people. And Peanuts would have a full house, maybe 500, 600 people. And this was twice a night they would have shows.
I would try as hard as I could
to get the first group there so I could get my people in and get a good table for them, you know? Because if you got there a little late, sometimes you couldn't even get the people in the club. It was so crowded, you know?
In those days, ships would come in, but the bars wouldn't be open. There was nothing going on the ships. People left the ships and went out each night.
Peanuts Taylor, King Era, Cat and Phil, Zanzibar, Silver Slipper, these were institutions, in my opinion. They were not nightclubs.
Not one tourist night we didn't have 300-400 people. We opened the show at 8 o'clock and never stopped playing till 4 o'clock in the morning sometime.
Sometime I go to bed and say I'll get up midnight and start to work. There was club that opened 4 a.m. in the morning, started 4 a.m. in the morning. And when these clubs started, they served breakfast, you could smell the boiled fish and so on, you know.
If you have a quality that no one can find anywhere, they recognize that and they treasure that. And that's the only thing that you have going for you, you know? And that's what we had.
He would personally come and sit at my table, meet my guests, find out if they were having a nice time, find out if there's anything else he could do to enhance their stay at the Drumbeat, you know?
He was the best in town, you know. Oh, and he took me up and said, oh, here is my daughter, and I came up on the stage and say, hi, my name is Camilla, and I just ran down off the stage.
He had a way of making everybody feel like they were the one and only. Everybody called him uncle, everybody called him my brother. He just had such a presence of loving entertainment, making people happy. And his reaching out to the audience with humor. I mean, some nights he would be lit up and his humor would just come through.
In 1971, Peanuts met Linda Aberry. It would be a 48-year-long courtship.
He had been asking me out and I kept saying no. Finally, my sister came over the holiday season and New Year's into 1971, and he invited us all to his house for a very lovely dinner. And they struck up quite a conversation, and she said, you know, he's a really nice guy. If he asks you out again, say yes, go out with him. So it's her fault.
It's a golden age for musicians here in the Bahamas. During this period, you could find dozens of Bahamian entertainers in nightclubs and venues, many of them within walking distance of this very spot.
Everyone had a band. They all had a band. Musicians were making a good living in this country. Some hotels, 3 and 4 bands.
The Bahamians had a chance. They could walk from their homes to the Drumbeat, or walk to the banana boat, or or walk to King of Nights, and feel comfortable at nights.
If we went out to town and eat, oh, hi, Peanuts, and we have to stop and come on,
Most of the women who threw themselves on these guys were foreigners, tourists, who were coming to the Bahamas for this kind of stuff, because they would even ask us to introduce them, to personalities.
And I really liked the way he used to have all the white girls. I said, I'm gonna get me some of them too.
I had to learn to share my man. And, everybody, wanted a little piece of peanuts and, or a big piece of peanuts. And I was happy to, to share him.
Despite his growing popularity as an entertainer, Peanuts' skill as a drummer was always respected amongst other musicians.
With the speed of his hand on those drums, moving from one to the next, and sometimes he has as many as 8 drums around him. It means that this is a phenomenal mind that we're dealing with in Peanuts Taylor. He opens his drumming by feeling out all of the drums. And as he does that, he has this great smile that captivates the whole audience. And as his hands move, the rhythms begin. And he moves from one drum to the next so smoothly. And then he goes, all of a sudden his hands are moving quickly. And they are moving from one to the next. And next his head starts to reel. And it starts going round and round. And he's still smiling. And suddenly the audience starts to clap and get into the mood of the drums. And then suddenly, as they are in a hype, he goes again into a frenzy and he rolls up and the rhythm just go to height. And all of a sudden, he is totally transformed. And the audience is likewise, and then the lights go down.
I was just mesmerized watching his performance with the Congo drums and everything, because he was, of course, the highlight of the evening. It was phenomenal. No one ever tried to play melodies, actual music notes, using the Congo drum and using his elbow to mute the sound and putting it in different positions on the skins of each drum. It was crazy. It just blew me away.
When I see him play, I always was so proud of him, you know. And you can go on YouTube too and see, and you cannot understand that he can play so many drums at one time, you know, and so fast, you know.
When I first started performing with Peanuts, it was my first time. Maybe it has been done before, but it's my first experience in seeing him play melodies on the Congo drum with, you know, stretching the skins with his elbow. That was fascinating to me. You know, backing up Peanuts Taylor, I was being entertained just being there in the band.
You would have a band that worked with him every night, so they knew every move that he wanted to make, or when he wanted accents from the horns or whatever. But he was always very, very, quote unquote, dynamic as a drummer, and would bring the house down every time.
His shows always started on time. He wanted you to dress a certain way. You had to speak a certain way.
He's always talking about being professional, being on time, and he's always surrounding himself with professional musicians. There's no excuses as to the level of musicianship. You have to come in ready, you have to be disciplined, and you have to have passion for what you're doing. Peanuts, that was his thing. He did it as a career, and that was his passion.
He had a way of just harnessing people who had talent and setting them off, and he would get upset if they didn't reach their potential.
There's several of the older artists that they were so specific about what they wanted in life and how the music should sound, about being on time, about being disciplined. And I love that kind of structure, and he helped me a lot with that.
When you got in those shows, you had to have your craft down. You didn't just walk on stage. You didn't just do the, you know, how people, oh, this must be easy. No, if you watch Peanuts Taylor play his drums, you'll know that this thing takes years of dedication and years of time and just say sacrifice of your life to get to that point.
Drumbeat become very popular because Peanut really put on a good show. He imported a lot of Jamaican and Trinidadian musicians.
He wanted the best performers in his show. He always wanted the best. He wanted the best of everything, and he wanted the best for everyone who was there.
You either want quality, and you don't distinguish quality from race or where the person came from. You distinguish quality by what the work that the person does.
He was able to have not just Bahamian musicians, but musicians from all over the Caribbean, all over the United States would come and be a part of his band.
The Bahamas was known as the Mecca of entertainment in this part of, because he brought artists from Cuba, he brought artists from Trinidad, Jamaica, and brought them to the Bahamas. His band was that good because it not only played the classic big band sounds, when he went into his Caribbean rhythms and Gombe rhythms, they were blown away because they'd never heard anything like it before.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it was just magical. Everyone who was on that stage, and Peanuts, it was incredible on the drums, you know, it just took everyone's breath away.
His show always showcased the best people, so it was imperative if I wanted to see what the best entertainment was at that time to go and watch Peanuts Taylor's show.
Just to see him sitting with so many drums around him, he said, what's this guy gonna do?
It was an exciting night. He gave them a variety of different aspects of Bahamian culture, from the limbo, fire dance, guest artists, and the night, and you're talking about 2 shows in every night.
Drumming was so therapeutic for him. I think he was able to work through anger, despair, happiness to happiness through one act, through one act. He was also surviving diabetes. I mean, he went on stage many times and I could see the pain. I could see he wasn't feeling well. I don't think other people saw it, but I couldn't wait till he would be off stage. He was taping his fingers. You know, he just kept on going though.
Even with all the success Peanuts was having with his nightclubs and even expanding into the restaurant business, political change was about to come.
It only remains for me to wish the government and people of the Bahamas the very best of luck throughout the future.
It deteriorated after the government change. They allow ship and port to have entertainment. In those days, the UPP didn't allow it. Ships and port, they had to close down. Paradise Island came along with the bright lights. All the tourists go there. From the ship, it was directed over there.
What used to happen before '67, the tourists that came, who were predominantly American and Canadians, they wanted to experience the local entertainment and culture. So what did they do? They left the hotels and came over the hill.
In the good old days, the government used to have the ships closed down at 10 o'clock. So everybody who wanted to see entertainment had to go out to the nightclubs and see some good entertainment.
The foreign direct investors at the time realized that the visitors were leaving their properties at night to go over the hill. So what did they do? They attracted the most popular bands and brought them into the hotels.
There were rumors that as the passengers were coming over, they would tell the passengers on the cruise ships, don't go over the hill because you're going to get tuberculosis, the women are going to be raped. And this had a very profound effect on the nightclub industry.
And then they started saying, well, if you leave and go over the hill, we can't guarantee your safety. So it was designed to destroy the local nightclub industry.
For some reason, the hotels took over entertainment. We had like 8 or 9 nightclubs at one time that you could go from one nightclub to the other, all down Wolf Road. And the nightclub industry just died in the Bahamas.
Balmoral Beach Hotel, which is the back room. I had the King and Knights, I had the Emerald Beach, I had the entire Cable Beach strip from west to east, from Balmoral to Sonesta Beach in the old names, all had clubs.
To play in the big hotels was more, you know, like the thing than to play in those native clubs. You know, hey, that's just the native thing. You get into that, it's probably more money. It was probably more, you know, you get to hang with the foreigner. So I think that's what it was. And once that happened, everyone went to those hotels and left the nightclubs. And I think that was probably the decline right then.
I think we started getting, during the independence, we started getting people getting robbed, and you know, the walking from Bay Street to the ghetto was not smart anymore, and that we brought upon ourselves.
I went to one of the politicians who was in charge, I don't want to call his name, and I said to him, you know, I tell you what, I think that we're going to have a problem over the hill. I said, there's a police station here, can you get some good security for me? Because I could see that it's going to come over the hill. It's going to be very bad. And I spent all this money and time to build up the name of this club, and I don't want to destroy it by being over. They say, oh, you're making so much money, what are you worried about? I say, well, I'm worried about my name, my reputation.
Disco came in, and it was cheaper to hire a disc jockey.
Bahamians then want to go to discotheques. I guess that's the younger folks, the era they just turn the music as loud as you want.
The musicians from over the hill were lured into the hotels to perform in those shows, and they used to have bands in all the hotels. And so the clubs, they closed 1-1 because the tourists, when they lured the tourists away from over the hill, you could see the show over in the hotel.
Peanuts Taylor used to have 3 full shows every night because he had a relationship with the cruise ships. When the crews stopped coming and staying overnight, there was no reason for a Peanuts Taylor operation because Bahamians would not support that kind of operation. It was a native show.
Clubs get wiped out. The hotel have shows there. And so the people never to come out to see the shows, native shows no more, because they don't see a show inside the hotel or on the boat. But in the good old days, the clubs used to be full. And the club used to make money till things change.
The cruise ships themselves, they were more introducing the same shows on the cruise ship at that time. So you were competing against the shows that's on land and cruise that on the ship. And that marks the era of that particular type of shows, the native shows.
When George Myers came and asked me if I would bring the Drumbeat name to the Nassau Beach Hotel, I said yeah, and I closed it down right away. I didn't even think about it.
To stay in business that long in the nightclub industry and to be successful over that period is a major accomplishment.
I had some visitors called me once and they said, Romeo, we're flying over tonight, we want to go to dinner, and after dinner we'd like you to take us to every night spot going. And I say, oh my God, I'm in trouble, because there was no place to take the people, you know.
I have fond memories of when my family and I lived here in Adelaide Village with Peanuts. This was his sanctuary, his home away from the hustle and bustle of nightclub life. So it was particularly devastating when tragedy hit home, not once, but twice.
When he lived in Adelaide, there was a fire, and I don't know, I think there was some question about it being arson. We're not sure how the fire started, but that was tragic. He loved his Adelaide home. And also there was the hurricane that hit. It was a terrible, terrible hurricane. He was actually in Sweden with Camilla at the time, and Camilla saw on television, she said, Daddy, that's your house. And that's how he found out that he had been hit. And I'll never forget picking him up from the airport and bringing him into the house. I mean, it was terrible.
Setbacks would continue for Peanuts.
We were at Traveler's Rest, and I know he struggled very much with that restaurant. And I told my daddy that the lady and the man that was managing the restaurant was stealing from him, because I saw that with my own eyes. And they say, no, yeah, they're stealing, believe me. And he had to sell the restaurant because he didn't go round. And he said, yeah, you were right, they were stealing from me.
You're talking about money exchanging from one hand, from the customer hand to the waiter or bartender's hand, and then it gets to you. So you got to be able to devise a way to make sure that you get the most of it before it goes out the back door.
I remember saying to him at one point when we saw, stealing going on, crookedness going on, and I said to him, you know, you owe it to yourself to have to close the doors of the Drumbeat when you're on an up note. Don't let financial demise or health issues close the doors for you.
Like many Bahamian entertainers, Peanuts was revered more around the world than right here in his own country. In fact, Cuba bestowed upon him one of their highest cultural honors, the Laureate Seal of Honor. Peanuts being the first non-Cuban to receive it.
I think it has to do with the fact that they respect that I was well known and that I did for the Bahamas what they were trying to do for Cuba by promoting tourists. They understand the value of that.
They gave him an honorary degree from the university, which was amazing. He brought down a Junkanoo group in order to do his so-called doctorate.
If you allow yourself to be humble, you'll always feel grateful when people recognize what you do.
He didn't seek recognition, I wouldn't say, but when he was granted it, he treasured it. He treasured it. It meant the world to him.
Turn it on, leave it on. America, see the music you want to see.
I want my own TV.
With the influx of new media outlets from the United States and beyond, the slow demise of Bahamian entertainment had begun.
Maybe we're too close to America. Who knows? Because we definitely lose our culture. And I don't know how we're going to get it back.
You can't expect the young people to love what they don't know. We have not given them anything to hold on to, like our grandparents were given the Peanuts Taylor or given the Ronnie Butler, the King Erics, the Duke Errols. These were a part of the landscape. They were revered when they drove around town. People wanted to be them. They had the women and the money and the glamour. Nowadays, these young people, they see musicians as struggling and they prefer to be Jay-Z and all those other people.
A nation without art and music at the forefront is a dying nation.
We let our kids go and do ballet or learn piano just to say we are artsy and culturally and classy. But you better be a lawyer or a doctor or be this. Don't be no musician. Because that's how we look at it.
What we have to do now is not stray too far away from what the old Bahamas used to be like. Because that's what the people want. They crave that kind of location and that kind of culture and that kind of music that we have here.
We're boasting about having 4 million tourist visitors, and we're having a major function at a major resort on the beach, and one Bahamian song the whole night, and they only played a piece of it. They played a little piece of bone pineapple wine, $1.50 all the time.
When we lost our culture along the way, we lost what our parents and our grandparents gave us to be what we are today.
I will give anything to have another Drumbeat come back to this country again.
We need to get back to finding out who we are and what we are as a people, because we're losing it. We're losing it, and we actually, I think to some extent, we're selling ourselves out.
We were not able to harness our young boys to be like us. They didn't want to be like us. They wanted to be Americans.
I mean, for heaven's sake, why are we selling a beach towel on the beach in Nassau, Bahamas with Bob Marley, Bahamas on it?
If we believe that our culture is not good enough for the tourists that come here, who come here because they want something different, what does that say about us?
Unfortunately, we're going to be dead guys. Very lucky and very fortunate if people could remember our names by the time we get 90 years old.
You have to love yourself. That's where it starts. If you don't love yourself and love what you are made of and where you came from, you'll grab anything.
Peanuts Taylor's story is not unique to the many Bahamian musicians whose legacy and music have all but faded away from the radio airwaves and the minds of the Bahamian people. However, there's a lot of lessons to be learned from their cultural impact and A lot of the young Bahamian musicians are standing on their shoulders today.
It's about just feeling proud about who you are and feeling good about being a Bahamian and understanding what it is to be a Bahamian.
We just have to love ourselves. That's the only thing missing right now. We have to love ourselves.
We musicians, we're the worst business people. Peanuts Taylor ran a successful business. You know, all the old tourists that came to the Bahamas and who still come, still talk about Peanuts.
He was one of the greatest Bahamian entertainers and musicians.
He had some of the best nightclubs in the land. And he had all the top entertainers there. And everybody in the culture field, he tried to give work to. So Peanut did great in his lifetime, representing the country.
I wish all of the drummers that believe that they're the baddest drummers in the world could have heard Peanuts Taylor in his heyday.
The consummate conga player, the consummate percussionist. Peanuts Taylor, the person, if you ever sat down with Peanuts Taylor, you remember his laughter more than you remember the conversations, because Peanuts always found a way to break out in just, the biggest laugh, virtually giggling throughout the whole conversation. Peanuts was always such a happy individual. And even in despair, he found a way to make a joke out of it.
Peanuts is a guy that would give you the shirt off his back. He always smiling.
Every time I see him, I just remember of the charm that our islands once had. People just being kind to one another just because is the right thing to do.
If you're not feeling well, once you sit with Peanuts Taylor for a short while, before you know it, you yourself will be laughing. You'll be in a good mood.
Peanuts will be regarded as probably the greatest Bahamian entertainer and businessman that was successful in his endeavor and in providing cultural opportunities for visitors in this country, because certainly there's not been anyone greater than him.
I always said if there's a top 10 drummers in this country, a top 10 musician, Peanut has to be one or two.
He opened the doors for many young, upcoming entertainers, musicians like myself, and put us on the next level of being the best musician, entertainer, entrepreneur that you want to be.
He always said that there is no place in the world where he has been that is better than the Bahamas. And I believe it is that his love for his country and the Bahamian people generally that I admire most about him.
The country has not recognized his contributions and accomplishments worldwide that he has done all of his life, saying Bahamas, Bahamas, Bahamas.
He was one of the best Congo bongo players in the world. Starred in movies, and from there met all the stars of the world. He entertained for kings and queens, playing those same drums.
He have shown that if you made up your mind strong enough and believe yourself and don't listen to what other people tell you, I almost cried, you could make a way, and you can make to become that person you want to become.
You can't separate his drumming from his personality. And I think he loved his country, and he wanted to promote his country on an international level. I think he done that, and he's a Bahamian icon in that sense.
He knew the wealth of talent that was here, and he wanted to be a part of that talent and nurture that talent and keep it going on. And it brings him joy to this day to see any Bahamian excelling in the arts.
I hope that he is appreciated by the country and the government for all the contributions that he has made to this country. And I will never forget him.
After the lights and music had died down, Peanuts and Linda finally made it official, 48 years later.
We basically dated for 48 years before he proposed to me 5 years ago. And we were able to have our wedding, and our wedding was just perfect. We have Bahamian family up in Minnesota as well. So the cake topper, one sister had this made, the strawberry for me, and of course for Peanut, it's a peanut butter jar with a peanut on top. So there we are. That was the cake topper, the peanut butter, and the strawberry jam.
All the money, you know, yeah, I had money and houses and cars and everything, but that doesn't follow you. You can't take that with you when you go. You can leave a memory behind when you go. Unless you can do that, your life is wasted.
To this day, he's just so affirming of what we have. He's so appreciative. I mean, as recent as yesterday morning, he said, thank you. He said, Linda, I love you. And, you know, I said, I love you more, and he said, no. He said no.
I mean, I pray all the time, you know, it's just amazing, I do, because I know that my time will soon come. And when my time comes, whatever place that he says he's going to prepare for me, I won't be there.
I'm happy to have been able to bring Peanuts' story to life while he's still here to see it. Something I hope we can all continue to do with our other Bahamian icons, because you really don't know where you're headed unless you know where you came from.